All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. All right, welcome back to the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. Good to have you all here once again for another live stream. I actually had something totally different planned. I was actually going to talk about some of the contract sagas that's been taking place in regards to Mendy, N'Golo Kante, Mason Mount, potentially Kovacic down the track. I was actually going to talk about that, but then this whole Chelsea fan base, especially in Twitter, this whole Chelsea fan base Twitter toxicity is blown out of proportion. It has taken over all over Twitter at the moment. Every single person out there is tweeting about this, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have to address this, and I wanna be able to give my 2 cents on this. I'm aware that some of you guys may not find what I say on this particular stream to your liking, but I've always been very respectful. I've always delivered my content in a manner where I hope you understand where I'm coming from. You don't necessarily have to agree with it, but you understand where he's coming from. Similarly, sometimes some of the comments, I try and understand why you're commenting in a way that you are. And some might be able to connect with what I have to say today as well. Some may have a reason to connect. Look, it all kicked off with the whole banner situation a couple of days ago. Now, some may even say it might have even kicked off slightly before that with my probably the failed compilation that I shared from someone else in regards to Mason Mount's, poor performance in the match against, I believe, the one before Fulham. Can't remember. Might have been against Crystal Palace. Oh, Liverpool. Yeah, Liverpool. But recently, it's really, really kicked off. Off the back of this whole banner situation. We Are the Shed. We Are the Shed are a particular Twitter account that seems to have the power to decide what type of banner they want to put out in the stadium. They're the ones who make that decision. Obviously, they do fundraising to get the money in order to create the banner, and then they put out the banner. And this whole toxicity sort of kicked off with the banner being for Mason Mount, basically. Which, honestly speaking, I've got no issues with it. Like, I don't care one bit whose banner is up there. Obviously, it's a special moment when someone's banner is in the stadium. It's fantastic to see. I still remember Thomas Tuchel's reaction when he saw the banner in recent times. So magnificent to see his reaction. Obviously, recently, Reece James had his banner. Now there's a decision that We Are the Shed, they'll put out a banner for Mason Mount because of all the recent abuse, which is wrong, which is absolutely wrong, that Mason Mount's copped. But I think sometimes abuse is getting mistaken for constructive criticism. People can't seem to distinguish the two. What is criticism? What is abuse? They're sort of all lumping it all together. So anyway, there has been a decision that Mason Mount's going to get a banner potentially in the next Stamford Bridge match. And then there's a backlash because of that. There is a good portion of the fan base that's saying, well, where was all this banner for all the other players that has endured abuse, non-stop abuse in the likes of Jorginho, in the likes of Kepa, and many more. I still remember Rudiger as well. Once Frank Lampard got sacked, the amount of abuse Rudiger copped. I still remember that because I made a video on it, standing up for Rudiger. People were blaming Rudiger for Lampard's sacking. And we all know what happened after that. So I guess there was a backlash. Now, why a banner for Mount and there hasn't been banners for so many other players that have endured severe level of abuse? Similar, maybe more worse. They don't get a banner but Mount. But me personally, I don't care. I don't care. Look, do a banner for whoever you want to do it for. But I think what we need to understand is, where is this toxicity stemming from? I think us as a fan base, and this is where I'm going to share my personal feeling, my opinion on this matter, and I want to see what you guys have to say about this. I see a certain trend. It's only toxic when it seems like certain players are targeted. It never seems to be toxic when other certain players seem to be targeted. And I think this is where we as a community here, all the people that tune in to the other side of the coin on a regular basis, come here and listen and participate in the discussions, in the interactions. I think we need to be aware. We need to be well informed as to what is going on, right? So, first of all, I think we need to distinguish what's creating this toxicity. What is creating this toxicity? I feel like there's in my mind, I've sort of come up with, there's 4 parts. There's 4 different elements. Now, there could be more. But there's 4 different elements, right? Someone's mentioned that English media definitely is one of those elements. There's no doubt about that. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But first up, let's start with the player stands. I think that's what people call it now, right? Fans that seem to like a particular player or several particular players ahead of the football club is an issue. That in itself is an issue. There are certain fans that seem to love a player more than Chelsea Football Club itself. They represent the player. The club could be in the bin, but they represent the player only, or players. There's plenty of accounts on Twitter that represent only Kai Havertz, or that represents only Jorginho, or that represents only Kante, and so on and so forth, right? Mount, so on and so forth. These people, they create a very, very nasty environment because they can't say the truth about the player that they represent. Do you know what I mean? It's almost as if that player becomes a religion to them. It's almost as if that player becomes a family member to them. You know, they have some sort of blood relationship to them. And they take things very personally if you have anything critical to say about them. One of the classic examples is Pulisic fans, for example. I can't get a single tweet out on Twitter, even if it's a basic criticism about Christian Pulisic, without getting severely abused by Pulisic fans. That's just one simple example. I could say, Christian Pulisic, for example, the last injury that he had, I still remember firsthand that particular impact that Christian Pulisic had. I felt personally, wow, that's a day-to-day impact in the Premier League. Like if you're getting injured because of that kind of impact. And I still remember, I think Pulisic went for a shot and the shot was blocked and his leg was basically jarred. His leg was jarred, right? And obviously he injured his knee, I think, consequently. And for me, when I tweeted that out, there were so many Pulisic fans that was after me, telling me, oh, now you have a complaint about his injury. Man can't even get injured. Obviously, we know on YouTube, for example, Johnny Minerals, the way he represents Mount, the way he represents Havertz is not healthy for the player himself, because he says a lot of outlandish stuff, which then creates a backlash, and so on and so forth. Jorginho has the same thing. As I said, Havertz, and so on and so forth. So one of the four is player stance. Second one, super fans. Super fans. Now, this is a notion that I've alluded to not that long ago. I've been a victim to this super fans notion. Not just recently, but previously as well. There are certain fans within our fan base, and I'm pretty sure it's same in other fan bases as well. They think they're superior to you. They think that they have a very large following, or they're born and brought up next to the stadium. They go to the matches. You know, they watch the players train. They think they can police you. They think whatever you say that is even slightly out of sync from their belief, they feel they have the right to clamp down on you and tell you how things are. You won't, honestly, I'm not even kidding. In recent times, I've had so many DMs from large accounts telling me what I should tweet and what I shouldn't tweet. Do you know what I mean? And already in this particular comment section, there are certain people that seem like they're super fans. These fans, they think they're above a particular level. And because of these super fans, once again, you get a backlash. These super fans, they don't seem to clock in their head that part of the toxicity is stemming because of the way they are behaving and the way they act in social media. For example, if you say anything slightly off track about Declan Rice on social media, there will be certain super fans that will come in that will tell you not to tweet about them in that manner. But those same super fans will not tell you if they agree on a particular criticism on a player that they also don't like. For instance, let's say Kovacic or Jorginho or whoever else, Kepa. As long as it's a player that they don't have so much taste for, then that's fine. But if it's a player that they think they value a lot, they will clamp down on you. They'll come to you. They'll tell you, remove that tweet. Policing. And these superfans are very hypocritical as well. They tend to tweet negative stuff on a regular basis, and that's not an issue. But when you tweet something which is probably not even negative, you're just putting out an opinion, then that's an issue. So that's superfans. Superfans, you need to be well aware of superfans. Third one, English media. English media will drive you to think how they want you to think. They are the ones who are building an agenda, and they're the ones who are planting an agenda in your head. You'll see how some of these English journalists, when they're writing about a particular player, the level of tone and the way they construct their sentences is totally different to a particular player that they tend to like. Throughout this period where Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount, they've not been playing well, right? And that's an understatement. How many articles have you guys seen on social media from English journalists talking about this particular matter? And on the contrary, how often have you seen stuff about Ziyech needs to get out, Pulisic needs to get out, Havertz needs to get out? And also, and I don't want to delve too deep in this because this is a very, very, scary realm that I'm about to enter. How often have you seen articles on Sterling, Tammy Abraham, Callum Hudson-Odoi, players of color, basically, Tomori, but the white sort of players, they don't tend to get too much of a hit. And it's this media that's planting these seeds in your head. So a lot of this toxicity is created by these people in media. And this is where we need to be aware. We need to be aware. We have to be on top of this. That's why I consistently tell you guys, let's not react immediately. Let's let it marinate. Let's understand the situation, and then let's come back and have a proper conversation about it. At the end of the day, it's football. Like, we need to calm down. We don't need to get too personal with each other about this, right? I'll get to the fourth point. Let me just quickly take care of this super chat. Top Dog RLG, thank you so much for the super chat. I think the mentality of holding individuals in higher regard than the club is just a product of the times we live in, where individualism trumps all. Players come and go, but Chelsea's forever. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. We live in a particular era where, and this is the fourth point. This is the fourth point. We live in an era where social media is just so available to everyone. There's a lot of kids out there. So the fourth point is obviously the grand nature of social media and how it's available to kids, immature people. It's just readily available out there. So people can say whatever they want to say without having any pictures, without having any verified, account on Twitter. They can say whatever they want and they can just walk out there. For them, they're just there to create chaos. Recently, I saw, someone writing a whole essay to Mount, abusing the brother so badly. I'm thinking, wow, how could you do that? What makes you take that much time to write that much BS? And that's where I feel like that line, that's wrong. That is wrong. You can criticize a particular player's performance, but to go out of your way to send them a direct message and absolutely having a go personally. And this isn't just Mount. Like I'm so sure Kepa's had that. I'm so sure Jorginho's had that. Kovacic has had that. Many other players have had that. Chalobah has probably had that. But I think it's because, and I'm not justifying it one bit, it's wrong. But I think it's because it's culminating from all of these four factors that I just talked about. Player stands. Like, for example, I don't know, Jorginho fans can't stand when they see Mount fans talking it up. Similarly, Mount fans can't stand Jorginho fans talking it up. Like, classic example recently. Jorginho obviously went to Arsenal Football Club on deadline day. And there were certain parts of the fan base that was saying, let's take a moment during the match day against, I think it was against Fulham maybe, where they do some sort of an announcement or thanking Jorginho, this, that, the other. We Are the Shed, the same people that are creating the Mount banner, said, well, they replied to that particular idea with a vomit emoticon. I mean, they could have very sincerely replied back by saying, look, we thank him, we appreciate his services to Chelsea Football Club and everything that he's done, but he's now an Arsenal player and we wish him best of luck, but we're not going to do any sort of announcement for an Arsenal player. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could understand if they said that. It would have been a nice touch had they just went, you know what, we'll make a nice announcement. We'll just take a moment before the game when everyone's sort of sitting down just to say, thank you, Jorginho, for the time at Chelsea Football Club. N'Golo Kante, for example. N'Golo Kante hasn't had a proper big blown out banner at Chelsea as yet. And look at all the stuff that he's done. So this is the thing. Double standards, absolutely. Double standards, hypocrisy. This is what it all stems from. People don't realize that the toxicity is coming from a particular source, a root. is because of all of these things. That's why as much as I love Ziyech, right? And I've said to you guys so many times, you'll never see me on Twitter like nonstop just writing BS about Ziyech. When Ziyech does poorly, I comment on it. When he does well, I comment on it. You will not see me representing any and every academy player that comes out of Cobham like they are the, God sent present to earth. We do too much. There are certain fans, they do too much. You'll notice this toxicity will only increase even more against West Ham come match day. You'll notice certain Chelsea fans will be cheering on Declan Rice as opposed to cheering some of our players on. This is where the toxicity sometimes rises. Someone who's not even a Chelsea player, they'll be praised and they'll be lauded, whereas some of the Chelsea players who've put in a hard yard will not be lauded at all. Do you know what I mean? Fans don't like feeling like you're playing with the intelligence. If you hype any player to hell when they don't deserve it, they'll react harder. I blame the stands for why y'all fight so much. Absolutely. This is one of the reasons. So let me take some of these other comments as well, because I want to be challenged on this particular live chat today. Because aren't you contradicting yourself by suggesting what someone else should and shouldn't tweet? What they tweeted was wrong, but so was sharing failed comps. Look, in regards to the failed comps, first of all, this is why I don't engage. I never go to anyone else's tweet and tell them this was a wrong tweet. The message I'm saying is just don't be bothered. Just mind your business and carry on. I've seen so many tweets that I don't agree with, but I don't lose my hair for it. In regards to the failed comp, honestly speaking, from the bottom of my heart, I personally didn't think sharing a failed comp was going to create that much of a mess. I was just baffled by the level of performance of Mount in that match against Liverpool. I was shocked. I was shocked at what I saw. It wasn't to highlight and bring hate to Mount. In fact, it brought a lot of hate to me. The amount of abuse that day I copped in regards to my family, my son, my wife, people telling me I should just die, people calling me the C word. There was a plethora of messages. My mere intention, and looking back now, maybe that was the wrong thing to do, but that was straight after the match. It was straight after the match where I felt, I can't believe what I just saw. And when I saw that particular video circulating all over social media, I got baffled by it. I absolutely got baffled by it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't doing it in a sense where I'm having a go at the player. The player has been bad for like 16 months minimum. I don't think we need a reminder that the player has been bad. It was more how shockingly bad that performance was against Liverpool. I just felt like, wow, this guy's forgotten how to play football altogether. People honestly misunderstood. People that know me, like there's a lot of you guys in the live chat that know me, that've known me for very long, understood where I was coming from with that particular tweet. But I understand. Not everyone's going to understand me. I understand that. Not everyone's going to understand me. But I think that was a perfect example of how toxicity is born. I've never been a super fan. I've not gone out of my way telling how people should react. I've never said, match goers versus non-match goers. I don't care. I really don't care. But I've been told several times that I don't go to Stamford Bridge, so my opinions mean I've been told several times Don't tweet like that about Declan Rice. These players, they watch what you do. You're a content creator now. You need to be a little bit more careful what you're doing. These players, they watch social media, who's writing. I've been told. I've been told. Super fans. Some of you guys would have remembered what happened between me and Yannick not that long ago. How I was laughing because England got eliminated and Declan Rice didn't have a good game. I was simply just having a laugh. I don't care about the English national team. I'm not from England. And this brother came out and said, "You're dangerously close to being unfollowed." The superiority. And it's not just him. There's many like that. There's many like that. So, yeah. Let's see what else you guys are saying. I don't care if people are toxic on Twitter in the Chelsea fan base, as long as they keep the same energy for Mount and Mendy, etc. People show more love to Mount after awful performances than Mendy. But this is the thing. This is the thing. This is why it all creates, because people can't seem to have the same energy. Me, I don't have any affiliations to any of these players. This is why I bring the same energy for everyone. Have there been a lot of talk about Gallagher and Mount and Havertz recently? Of course there has. That's because they've been so poor for a prolonged period of time. Prolonged period of time. But I've never shied away from talking about other players that have not been performing well as well. Let's be honest, Hakim Ziyech, he's still inconsistent. Christian Pulisic, still inconsistent. Cucurella, in recent times, inconsistent. But one thing with me, I've never crossed the line. I've never abused any of these players. Never. You guys can find any of my videos. I've never cursed them. I've never abused them. Nothing. I've simply talked about the football and what I've seen and what people are talking about. Good criticism is fine, but some of our fans are abusing and hating him on social media, which is absolutely disgusting. No player deserves it. 100% no players deserve that. But I want to say this. And once again, absolutely Mason Mount doesn't deserve this, what he's going through. Now, he's getting a banner. He's getting a banner soon. So hopefully he feels better. But where was this same level of support when Kepa was getting ripped apart? When people didn't want to, they called him a stripper. Jorginho on a regular basis gets called a stripper. Where was this backing for these players as well, man? Are they not players? Are they not players? People still think you worship Ziyech. I've seen you criticize him when he isn't good, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah. What can I do, man? What can I do? What can I do? You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. I love the fact that you're always being fair and not outrightly biased. Mount needs to be benched 10 games in a row so he can be brought back to reality. Fans should have their opinions, but the moment they become owners, then it's a problem. You may like or not, but it's up to the club management at the end whether that player plays or not. Yes, opinion real MP. Because I like Lampard and Tuchel overplayed. Because I think Lampard and Tuchel overplayed Mount and never benched him. He got big too early. The fans latched onto that. Potter needs to be more ruthless. Look, it's not even about Mount. Do you guys remember with Callum Hudson-Odoi under Sarri? I still remember those moments. There was literally threats from social media, Twitter accounts. If Sarri didn't start Callum Hudson-Odoi, that he needs to get sacked. I don't know how many of you guys were there in that time during Twitter. Maurizio Sarri was getting threatened by fans. And look at where Callum's situation is now. Yes, he's been injured, of course. But it's been many years as well since the injury. And he still can't seem to move on. So many fans that gave abuse to Sarri as well. Do you know what I mean? Some fans were okay to be relegated with Frank Lampard, for instance. Some fans, as long as Frank Lampard was the manager, that's all that mattered to them. They would say that they're happy to get relegated. It's outlandish takes like this that creates toxicity. I may not start any of the, toxicity when someone talks like that. You know what I mean? Like, you say what you need to say, that's up to you. But there's plenty of people out there that won't keep quiet, that will create a chaos in social media. Balak CFC, good to see you, my man. Hate getting out of hand now, to be honest. People projecting their dislike of Potter to slander him getting the mental skills coach is pathetic. The Mount hate is getting completely out of hand now. Crazy toxic. Yeah, look, the best way to beat toxicity is to pick up wins. I mean, would you agree with me on that, Balak CFC? One of the best ways to get rid of toxicity is to pick up wins. This is why I've been saying in recent times, with hook or crook, let's pick up wins. I don't need to see some style. I don't need to see any patterns of play. I don't need to see a tactical genius in display. Pick up wins, Graham Potter. It's very important, because the more points get dropped, the more the fan base will get more like toxic and toxic and toxic. It's human nature. The more you pick up wins and the odd losses here and there, that's fine. You best believe you shouldn't be bothered. The more results you have, like Fulham, you have like where you had an opportunity to perhaps beat Liverpool when Liverpool looked like they were in the mud. Everyone is beating Liverpool, right? The more you pick up wins, the more people can start forgetting about all of this stuff. Absolutely, Miz. We win against West Ham and 50% of the hate dies down. Results do change many things, at least superficially. No, you're right. This is why I'm saying against West Ham, it's a must win. Some of you guys will come and say, Miz, how can you demand a must win? How can you demand a must win against West Ham? Look at the state of our squad at the moment. All of these new players, they're still finding time to gel, this, that, the other. Every excuse ready for you, available. I'm telling you right now, you think it's toxic now. Wait till you drop points against West Ham and see how much more toxic it becomes. So this is what it is. I'm going to take a couple of more comments and then we're going to wrap things up. Marviel always has something to say. Let me see what he's saying. This is why Timo chose to leave, and now he's happy at the club that loves him, and fans don't care if he misses because they believe in him regardless. So he will thrive, unlike how our cancerous. Look, Marviel, I think some sort of substance needs to be applied at times. Of course, abuse in itself is wrong. Abuse in itself is wrong. Whatever happens in the football field, you critically talk about it and you move on. No need to abuse the player. But, Marvial, You can't be sitting there and saying to me, we should have just kept Timo Werner. The brother wasn't delivering for us. You need to understand from a footballing point of view as well. The brother was not delivering for us for 2 seasons. And he was missing some monumental opportunities. Just from a footballing sense, for Chelsea Football Club, it wasn't working out. We're not Crystal Palace, or we're not, Aston Villa, that we can harbor a player. Yeah, hell, even those teams can't even harbor those type of players because it's a results-based business. We're not Red Bull Leipzig that we can. It's okay if we miss some of these monumental misses. And I'm pretty certain Timo Werner was well liked by the matchgoers. Timo Werner was well received by the matchgoers. Take the final comment and we'll wrap things up. Some of the super fans believe they are superior from the other fans because they are privileged to be born and lived in London. If you're from that part of the world, you're just not better than them. True. I've experienced this. I really have. Just take this last comment from Balak CFC. Yes, Ms. Football is unfortunately a transitional relationship. Us fans only care about results. We forgive everything as long as we win. Fans should acknowledge this bias, shouldn't treat people differently on WL, whatever that means. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, look, I hope you guys have enjoyed this tough topic, and I hope I've been able to convey my thoughts around it. And once again, I apologize if anyone felt offended by anything I've said in this particular stream, because it is a sensitive topic. I can understand. But I hope you understand, you don't need to agree with me. As I've always said, you don't need to agree with me one bit. In fact, sometimes I like the disagreement because that opens me up to a different world to see what's going on, how others are thinking. I take pleasure from understanding how someone else is thinking. But there are so many people that wants to be closed. They don't want to think. They don't want to see they don't want to see the other side of the coin, pretty much. But me, look, I hope you guys got something out of it. And as I said, if you disagree, not a problem. Comment. But be responsible when you comment. Be responsible. We all have different perspective. We all see life in a different manner. So, yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take care and see ya. Catch you soon. Bye.